Our first problem is number 1 in our packet, which reads, at Roosevelt High School, there are 6 more students on the newspaper staff than on the boys' varsity tennis team, and a total of 42 students in these two clubs. How many students work on the newspaper, and how many are on the boys' tennis team, if none of the students are involved in both organizations? That's a lot of information to go through. I'm trying to get this centered better in the screen. There we go. Okay. So let's look through the steps here. We just read the problem. Next thing we're going to do is identify the questions. They want us to find how many students are on the newspaper and how many are on the tennis team. So those are the questions we're being asked to find. So we're going to need a variable for at least one of these. Since they do give us a comparison to say that there are 6 more on one than on the other, just one variable will work. So I'm going to choose to let my x, which will be my variable, equal the number on the tennis team. And the reason that I'm choosing that is because if I look back up here in the first line, they tell me that there are 6 more students on the newspaper than there are on the tennis team. So if I let x stand for the number that are on the tennis team, x plus 6 more will equal the number on the newspaper. Now I'm going to look for extra information that I can eliminate. Well, Roosevelt High School, we don't really care that this is taking place at Roosevelt High School. And other than that, I think we're going to need the rest of this. That there are 6 more on the newspaper staff than there are on the tennis team. And we also have some information here about the total number. And then the last parts of our sentence only deal with that question. In this case, a pretty long question, because we're being asked to find 2 different answers. The number on the newspaper, the number on the tennis team, and they do give us the clue that there isn't any overlap, that of these 42 students, they're either on the tennis team or the newspaper. They're not on both. So now let's look at how we might translate all of these individual informations into numbers. So we already know that 6 more means to take 6 and add it to the number that we have for the tennis team. So remember, we decided to let the tennis team be our x. So the newspaper staff is going to be our x plus this 6. The other information that we're given here is that we have a total, so that's usually going to be our equal sign, of 42. So when I translate this into an equation, I get the x that represents the boys on the tennis team, plus the x plus 6, which represents the students on the newspaper staff, and all together that needs to total 42 students. Now solving this equation is something that we covered in the previous section, so I'm going to move through that part pretty quickly. X plus x gives us 2x plus 6 is 42. Take the 6 away from both sides. We're left with 2x equals 36. Dividing by 2, I get x equals 18. Now we need to go back and remind ourselves what that 18 is about. Well, we decided that x was going to stand for the number of boys on the tennis team. So we've now figured out that there are 18 boys on the tennis team. Then to get the number of students who are involved in newspaper, the newspaper needs to be the same number as that are involved in tennis, plus 6 more. So since 6 plus 18 is 24, there are 24 students on the newspaper staff. Then we just need to do step 7, to go back and check this answer with our original story. So if we say, at Roosevelt High School, there are, now we know this answer to be 24 students on the newspaper staff and 18 on the tennis team, for a total of 42. Do 18 plus 24 equal 42? They do. And is 24 6 more than 18? It is. So we've confirmed that our answer is correct.